Today, we're talking about a signal coming out of France that could seriously shape the next phase of digital money in Europe. France's finance minister has publicly backed a project aimed at launching a euro-pegged stablecoin built to operate under the EU's MiCA rules. And the subtext here is pretty clear. This isn't only about innovation. It's also about competition, influence, and who gets to set the standards in the global stablecoin market. Let's start with the basics. Stablecoins are a special kind of cryptocurrency designed to hold a steady value. Instead of swinging wildly like many tokens do, a stablecoin is typically tied to something more stable, like a traditional currency. The most common examples are tied to the US dollar, which is exactly why dollar-based stablecoins have become so dominant in crypto trading, payments, and even cross-border transfers. So, why does a euro-pegged stablecoin matter? Because if you're transacting, saving, or settling payments in euros, a euro-based stablecoin can feel a lot more natural. It removes the need to constantly hop into a dollar instrument just to use crypto rails. And in a world where stablecoins are increasingly treated like digital cash equivalents, the currency you peg to is not a small detail. It's a statement about which financial system people are going to lean on. In this case, the initiative getting attention is called Qivalis, launched in 2025 with the goal of issuing a euro stablecoin that fits inside MiCA, the European Union's regulatory framework for crypto assets. MiCA is Europe's big attempt to bring clearer rules and oversight to this industry, especially around consumer protection, reserves, governance, and risk management. So when a French minister endorses a MiCA-aligned euro stablecoin, it's not just cheerleading. It's political support for doing stablecoins the regulated Europe way. Now, why is France leaning into this at all? One major reason is financial sovereignty. If most of the stablecoin activity in markets and payments runs through US-pegged coins like USDC or Tether, then a huge amount of on-chain liquidity and digital settlement ends up orbiting the dollar. Over time, that can reinforce US influence in the digital finance layer, even when the users and companies are based elsewhere. France's position, at least as implied here, is that Europe should have a credible alternative. A euro-pegged stablecoin that businesses can use for payments and settlement, consumers can hold without taking dollar exposure, and the Eurozone can point to as proof that it can compete in the infrastructure layer of finance. There's also a very practical angle. A euro stablecoin could make cross-border payments within the Eurozone faster and cheaper, at least in theory. Instead of routing transactions through multiple intermediaries or dealing with delays and fees, a digital euro representation on a blockchain could allow near-instant settlement, potentially 24/7. That's the promise stablecoin supporters always come back to: smoother movement of money with fewer frictions. And this is where the political strategy gets interesting. The endorsement is framed as a way to challenge U.S. hegemony in stablecoins. That word matters because it tells you the issue isn't only technical, it's geopolitical. If stablecoins continue to grow as a preferred medium for crypto payments and digital value transfer, the leading issuers and leading currencies could become deeply embedded in global commerce. In other words, this is a race for rails. Not just who builds the apps, but who controls the settlement layer people rely on. And France wants Europe to have a stronger footing there, rather than defaulting to dollar-backed products simply because they came first and became liquid first. Of course, none of this automatically guarantees success. For a euro stablecoin to rival dollar stablecoins, it needs trust, deep liquidity, strong distribution, and clear evidence that reserves and compliance are real. It needs exchanges, wallets, payment providers, and businesses to actually use it. And it needs to be easy enough that people choose it not because it's politically symbolic, but because it's genuinely useful. Still, the significance of this endorsement is that it frames euro stablecoins as a strategic priority. Innovation, yes, but also autonomy. France is essentially saying that Europe shouldn't just regulate crypto from the sidelines. It should also help shape what the regulated, mainstream version of stablecoins looks like inside the Eurozone. So the takeaway is simple. This isn't just another crypto headline. It's a sign that governments in Europe are treating stablecoins as real financial infrastructure, not a niche experiment. And if euro-pegged stablecoins grow under MiCA, we could see a more multipolar stablecoin world, where digital dollars aren't the only game in town. That's it for today. If you're watching the stablecoin space, Keep an eye on how Euro projects like this handle regulation, reserves, and adoption, because that's where the real competition will be won or lost.